Hey guys, it's Jorge and today you're watching What's Cooking with Jorge. So today we're going to be making a special little meal that I just happened to throw together one day, and I made it for my boo. And he ended up really enjoying it, and everybody who had it really enjoyed it. So I wanted to go ahead and make it for you guys because there have been some people on Facebook that have been requesting it. Shout out to Jamie. And what I like pairing this with, and what we're actually going to be starting with first, is that I usually go ahead and get some sourdough bread rolls, and just like a 12 pack, so it'll look something like that. And this is what we're going to be making kind of like our garlic bread with. So we're going to get some butter, and what I like doing is that the butter itself, we go ahead and let it be hard, because a cool neat little trick is that we're going to add a little bit of pizzazz to it with this little, it's a cheese grater, but honestly, look, you can just grate it right on. You get nice proportions of butter, almost looks like cheese. That way, even if the butter is really solid or really hard, you can at least smear it on there. Makes things a little bit easier, makes your life a little bit easier. So now we have enough butter on there. Make sure this is cleaned off a little bit. And next, we're gonna go ahead and take our Parmesan. And this is some vegetarian Parmesan by Belgioso. So let me just go ahead and peel this back a little bit. And I don't know about you guys, but I really love Parmesan. So whenever I put Parmesan on anything, I really go all in. Add a little bit of pizzazz to this. Gotta make sure it's fully coated. Nobody wants that bread with like no cheese on it. Okay, make sure we're coating it all the way in. Perfect. Set that aside. Okay. Alright guys, so now we're going to add a little bit more pizzazz, and we're going to make it a step further. So what we're using is some roasted garlic salt, and we just want to make sure that all of it is evenly coated. Again, just like the cheese roll, you don't want to leave anybody without a garlic on there, because what's garlic bread without the garlic? And we're adding some pepper. Just some though, you know, you want to go really subtle with the pepper. Real subtle. Okay. So now that your bread is ready, it's going to look something like that. And basically what we're going to do now is that we're going to go ahead and put it in the oven for 350 degrees, and we're probably just going to like eyeball it. It usually takes about 12 to 15 minutes. You want to make sure that it's golden brown on the ends, and the cheese is all melted and everything is just nice and gooey. So let's go ahead and pop that in the oven. Alright guys, so what we have here on the hot plate is that we have our boiling water, and we're actually going to be starting to cook our spaghetti, and I'm just using some organic linguine. You can use your favorite type, but you really want something that is nice and long, because you want to make sure that you're making like a longer pasta. I guess you could do it with rotini if you wanted, but it's not going to be the same. So let's make sure that we get all the pasta in there, and don't worry if it's a smaller pot, just because it'll really this will just kind of go inside once it's all like cooked. The bottom part's gonna cook and the rest is gonna slide on through. So let's make sure to get all this pasta in. All right, perfect. Okay, so now when I'm cooking pasta, I usually take a little bit of olive oil, and this is just something that my mom taught me. Growing up, we used to cook pasta a lot because it was one of my favorite dishes. So what we usually do is that we put some extra virgin olive oil, and what you always have to do when you're making pasta is that you want to make sure that you're adding a little bit of salt to the water. And this is, again, just something that my mom taught me growing up. We made pasta all the time, and she always added bay leaves. Now, usually do 2, just to add a little bit of flavor. And let's make sure that this is starting to cook down. We'll go ahead and set it aside, and pasta doesn't really take long to cook. Typically, you just like make sure that it's not spilling over. Leave it there for about 15 to 20 minutes. So let's go ahead and let this sit for a while. Let's make sure that it's all boiled down and it's cooked all the way. So we'll set that aside, and what we're gonna do next is we're gonna prep the tomatoes, we're gonna prep the cheese, and we're gonna get ready to make the pesto. So let's go ahead and do that. So now what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be making that pesto sauce. So what I usually do is that I use this little chopping thing here. It's called an ultimate chopper. If you don't have that, any type of blender will work. So what I typically do is that I add 1 garlic clove in there, and it all depends on how much garlic you like. I typically do 2, but we are going to be using a garlic Alfredo sauce, so I feel like that's probably going to be enough garlic for us. So I also add about half a cup of olive oil, and extra virgin olive oil, of course. So let's make sure we get like half a cup in there, and we're really gonna just eyeball it. But honestly, olive oil is one of my favorite ingredients, and it just adds so much pizzazz to the dish. So there's no wrong amount of olive oil, to be honest. And you're gonna go ahead and take 2 ounces of basil, and this is just fresh basil. Now typically you're gonna get some big stems in there like this, and you just want to make sure you get those out. Makes blending a lot easier. Go. Now I'm only adding part of the basil in right now because I just need it to chop down a little bit. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. Oh yeah, all that pizzazz right there. And now one of the key ingredients to pesto is that you need to add some pine nuts. And I'm gonna go ahead and say that this is about 1/4 cup of pine nuts. Let's get them in there. Perfect. Perfect. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and put the lid on it. We're gonna pulse this. Perfect. Make sure that's all mixing in there. Now we're gonna add the rest of the basil leaves, and I just got this at the local grocery store because my mom and I started this like herb garden. We have this little wagon, and of course I'm looking at Pinterest, you're looking at all these ideas, and I saw this photo about this like herb wagon where basically someone took their childhood wagon and they started planting some herbs just so that they have fresh herbs, I guess. But our basil didn't really fare up too well, so we don't have enough to make pesto. So I just went to the supermarket, you know, any type of basil's fine. Let's see. Just adding all of this, and we'll be needing a little bit more olive oil. I typically add that half a cup in portions. I'm gonna add a little bit of more. Perfect. Like I said, you can never go wrong with too much olive oil. Let's go ahead and pop that right back in there. Pulse it a little bit. Perfect. So now that you have that in there, one of the best ingredients in pesto, and I know you've heard me say this a lot already, but there's nothing that cheese doesn't go into. So we're gonna go ahead and grate some of that freshly grated Parmesan, and be very liberal with it. Perfect. Oh, that looks so delicious. Someone could literally just grate it into my mouth because Parmesan is so delicious. Now let's go ahead and seal this back up. We don't want it spilling everywhere. Perfect, and let's pulse it again, so. 1, 2, 3, make sure that everything is perfectly mixed in there. Perfect, perfect. So, what we have now, we're just gonna see this. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. Now look at that. Take a look at that green color. It's really going to add this beautiful color to the pasta, and you're really going to get some contrast with those red tomatoes, that mozzarella, and I'm really excited about that. Ugh, all the pizzazz. So I'm going to set this aside, and let's go ahead and check on the pasta. So the pasta needs a few more minutes, but while that is getting ready, we're going to go start working on the sauce. So you're going to need about 1/4 stick of butter. Just add it to a nice little saucepan. I'll let that melt down. Now, when I'm making pasta sauces, I always get a wooden spoon, just because I always thought that using a wooden spoon when I was little, I really thought that it gave it flavor for some reason. I don't know what I was thinking. But ever since then, I've always used a wooden spoon. Plus, I don't really like using plastic spoons whenever I'm cooking on a hot pan, whenever I'm needing to stir, just because I feel like, I don't know, the plastic taste is gonna go into the meal. Okay, let that melt down. Now to this little pot, we're gonna go ahead and add our Alfredo sauce. Go ahead and carefully pour that in. Perfect. It's gonna add a lot of the creamy flavor that we're looking for today. And perfect, let's go ahead and set that aside. Make sure that butter's melting, everything's incorporating itself, it's perfect. There's a lot of pizzazz coming in here, there's a lot of goodness, and it's just, oh my gosh, the smells that I'm getting here are just so delicious. So creamy, a lot of garlic, you know I love garlic. So let's go ahead and add a little bit of olive oil. Let's introduce it to the party. Perfect. And we're gonna go ahead and take our pesto sauce that we made, so our fresh pesto. I'm gonna go ahead and introduce it to this creaminess. Mr. Pesto, this is Mrs. Creamy. So introduce it liberally. Go ahead and add all that sucker in there. Perfect. Okay, make sure you scrape all of it because we love pesto. And go ahead and start stirring. Make sure that this turns nice and green. Oh my gosh, you guys won't believe the smells that I'm getting here. Like my mouth is like salivating just from like smelling this. It's so delicious. And we do want to make it a little bit creamier. I want to make sure that we have a little more sauce. So we're gonna go ahead and reduce the heat on this. Perfect. And we're gonna grab a little bit of milk. Now you can use milk, you can use heavy cream, just whatever's on hand. And that's gonna make it a little bit creamier. It's gonna add a little bit of a creamy element to it, as if it wasn't already creamy enough. And we're gonna go ahead and stir it. Make sure everything is nicely mixed in. Perfect. Oh, this looks delicious. Okay, can't forget about the pepper. I know we love pepper. Great. Go ahead and stir this a little bit more and we'll let it sit. And we're gonna go ahead and introduce the pasta into this. So let's go ahead and grab that. So now that our pasta is ready, it's fully drained, we're gonna go ahead and put it into that saucepan. And we're gonna go ahead and mix to make sure that all of these noodles get coated. Okay. Really wanna do a good job at coating these noodles. Make sure everything is nice and green. Now what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna set this aside a little bit. Just to the side, be careful not to burn yourself. Okay, make sure you don't burn yourself while cooking this unless you have insurance, because if you don't have insurance, ooh, the doctor's way too expensive nowadays. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and cut some of these little tomatoes. So just these little grape tomatoes, cut them in half. Perfect, easy, not too hard. Beginner steps, really. Okay, take all of these, add them into that pasta, and you can really use as many as you want. The more you add, the more like a salad it is, and we want it to be mostly carbs, so you don't have to add that many if you don't want to. And we're gonna go ahead and reach over and grab some of our fresh mozzarella. These are little mozzarella balls. Open this. Okay. Perfect. Okay, now what's really gonna add a level of pizzazz to this is this fresh mozzarella. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take a few of these little balls, add them in there. Oh, perfect. This looks so delicious already. We're just gonna mix it a little bit. And at this point, you're basically done cooking the pasta, so you can go ahead and turn off all heat. Okay, so I just got the bread out of the oven, and look at that tasty goodness. It's so brown, it's so crispy, all that cheese is melted. I'm really excited for that. Now I'm gonna go ahead and grab a little healthy portion of this, and ooh. Okay, so I'm gonna plate it. Literally every noodle that I grab with these just like slip right on through, so make sure you're using better tongs than this. Add it there. And I wanna make sure that we add a little bit of that mozzarella, nice and melted. And some of these tomatoes to really add color to that. So let's go ahead and grab a few of those. Okay, perfect. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a little bit more of that Parmesan cheese and we're really gonna grate it on there. Perfect, I love Parmesan cheese. Now what you wanna do is add a little bit of pepper to your liking. And you want to garnish it with a little bit of basil leaves. So right like that. Isn't that beautiful? And I already added the nice little bread over here, and we're gonna go ahead and give this a try. Now we're gonna go ahead and do my favorite portion of cooking, eating it of course. So let's make sure they grab enough noodle there, maybe a little piece of that mozzarella, and let's give it a try.
Lots of flavor.
Lots of flavor in there. I'm gonna try some of the little bread. Delicious. Now when you're making this, just have fun with it. Honestly, it's such a quick little easy meal. It's delicious, everyone will love it. Young people, little kids, picky eaters, and vegetarians because it's got no meat. And it's just all around delicious. So this will probably take you about 30 minutes to 40 minutes depending on how you like your pasta and what kind of ingredients you want to add to it. So I hope you enjoyed this segment of What's Cooking with Jorge, and subscribe if you want to see more of this content. We're going to be cooking a lot more things. Honestly, when I cook, I'm really inspired by my pescatarianism and also like my Latin roots, getting a lot of spices in there, and of course food that I just love. So go ahead and enjoy. Enjoy the cooking. It's really awesome to just get out there and cook. So if you love cooking, subscribe to this channel and we'll see you next time.